Hi, my name is Robin Costello. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Biological Sciences at the University at Buffalo in Buffalo, New York. And my PhD is in behavioral ecology and evolutionary biology. My dissertation was focused on the ecological causes and adaptive consequences of social behaviors in forked fungus beetles. But I now do biology education research, so my research is now focused on how we can improve undergraduate biology courses. So one thing I'm really proud of, last year I was awarded an honorable mention for best dissertation chapter in the Journal of Evolution. So Evolution every year picks out the best paper that was a result of someone's PhD, and I was awarded the honorable mention for it, which is something I'm really proud of because that chapter that turned into that paper in Evolution was something I worked really hard on, and so it was well earned. Yeah, and it just felt really good to be recognized by the field for doing good work, and that was really awesome. Yeah, so I feel like I could do this interview over and over again on so many different challenges I experienced in grad school. One of the harder challenges that I faced during grad school was just a field season that went wrong. It was the summer after my second year of grad school. It was my first field season where I was leading the research, and I just finished my qualifying exam. So where I got my PhD, our qualifying exams was basically just a proposal for what you're going to do with your PhD. So I just proposed this project, went out into the field to do what I had proposed, and it didn't pan out even a little bit. And I was just faced with not knowing what to do from there. So, like I said, I got my PhD in behavioral ecology and evolutionary biology, and in my lab, the motto was to err boldly. So there's a lot of encouragement to just figure out what you were going to do, what research question you were going to ask, and then to find a study system that matched that research question. So there were people in the lab that studied snakes, plants, insects, all sorts of organisms. And when I was proposing my research project, I was just trying to brainstorm a lot of different cool research questions, and it took me a lot of time to figure out what idea I felt was interesting and feasible. And I finally landed on this idea that I was like, okay, this is both interesting, feasible, cool, and I got excited about it. And the system that this idea I could address in was the false Colorado potato beetle. What was cool about them to me was that they lay clutches of eggs that are different colors. They range from pale yellow to this like deep bright red, and no one knows why. And so I proposed that I would figure out why. And I had all these different hypotheses for why egg colors might be different. Maybe it's something to do with maternal effects, so something maybe like the mom's diet. Maybe there was a chemical in these eggs. My hypothesis is that red eggs might signal more toxicity. Maybe it had something to do with UV protection, because there's literature where a lot of insect eggs are used for UV protection. I had all these different hypotheses. I was really excited about it. And I also knew that someone at the field station that I worked at, was doing their PhD like 10 to 15 years ago on this project. So I was like, cool, I can just like take it where he left off. But then when the field season came around, I tried to go find these beetles that this person had studied 15 years ago. And the beetles live on horse nettle, which is just this weed that grows in farms. So I drive around, knock on farmers' doors, ask if I can just sit in their fields, flipping leaves of horse nettles. And horse nettles are this pretty terrible plant to work with because they're thorny, they're nettles. And I was just searching for eggs. And after a summer of sitting in fields searching for eggs, I walked away with maybe 20 to 25 egg clutches that I had found. I also was collecting these beetles and bringing them into the lab to try to rear them to get them to lay eggs, and that proved to be really challenging. And I just didn't have a lot of people who knew the system who could help me navigate these different challenges of where I could find them, how I could rear them. And so after the field season, I met with my dissertation committee, and the question was do I try this again? Do I go out next summer, to try to do it all again? And the decision from that meeting was maybe not. And so after that decision, I just felt really down. I felt really depressed. I didn't know what I was going to do next. I didn't have motivation to figure it out. I had already spent so much time planning this project and getting excited about it. I just felt super burnt out. I didn't have the energy and I didn't know what to do. And professionally, I felt like I couldn't do the stuff that I wanted to do as a scientist. I didn't have data to share, to get feedback on. I wasn't writing abstracts to go to conferences to share my research. I wasn't writing papers. And so I felt like I couldn't progress in my research and towards my PhD, getting my PhD. And so instead I felt like I just needed to start over. And I didn't wind up having a successful field season until the summer after my 4th year. And that just like really wasn't the plan. And so after that experience, I was just way higher anxiety about my research. I just had an experience where my research didn't go well. And so I just didn't trust that it would. I remember having discussions with my PhD advisor, and he would just really try to reassure me that it was all going to work out. And I was just like, I don't think that's true. Like, you don't have proof that's true. Like, there's no way this is going to be fine. So yeah, that was just a really challenging experience in grad school. So after having that field season that did not go according to plan, there were kind of two different coping strategies that I found really helpful, one of which was going to therapy, and the other was to start working closely with other people. So immediately after my field season, I was like, okay, this is what depression is. I feel depressed. I need to go seek out therapy. And that wound up being its own challenge. The first therapist I tried to work with was like a really awful match. And then it took me like another year to find a therapist that I clicked with. But eventually I was like, oh, this is great. This is why people go to therapy. And that was really helpful in coping through the challenges of grad school and navigating that. The second thing that I did to help me cope was to start working closely with other people. So after I, had that committee meeting where the decision was like, yeah, I probably need to do a different research project, I just spent a lot of time just stewing in research ideas, not sure what to do. And eventually I decided something I'm really glad I did decide, which was to work on a system. It was a different beetle system that other people in the lab had worked on and were continuing to work on. And then after I switched into that system, future grad students started to join the same system as well. And so we had a bunch of people in the lab working on the same system, which was really a shift for that lab, which used to be kind of people independently working on really different projects in different organisms. So that was a totally different experience for me. Instead of going out into the field by myself or with my students, I now had other graduate students and people in the lab to help me troubleshoot issues when they came up. And that was just so helpful and yeah, made the world of a difference. Yeah, I learned so much. I think this experience really altered my expectations in research. So when I started grad school, I just had these really high expectations. I thought that the research I was going to do was going to just like immediately be super important, move the field forward, be featured in textbooks. Like I just was like, it's going to go great. And now I don't expect that from my research, right? I don't get as emotionally invested in my research projects. So when it doesn't work, I'm just like, yeah, that's how this goes. That's what happens. It's still definitely a bummer. It's never fun when things don't go according to plan, but I can just leave it a bit more easily. Whereas before, if I was working on a failed project, I took it really personally. I thought it was a poor reflection of me, of my character, my ability to do science, as opposed to just something that just is part of the scientific process that just happens all the time. So yeah, thinking back, I wish I had not been as hard as myself, not taken this failed, research season as some reflection of who I was and my ability to be a scientist, but it was a great lesson to learn moving forward for sure. Also at the time, I spent a lot of time making comparisons. So my project wasn't going well. I'd look around, I'd see other students in the lab and the graduate program and think that, wow, everything's going so well for them. That's not how it's going for me. That means I'm not a good scientist and they are. And I just kept on playing that like comparison game. And now I'm just way more aware that that's like not a productive use of time or even like a true thing to think. Like I can look at people, they can seem like they're really successful, everything's going well, but the nature of science is that things are hard and they oftentimes aren't going well. And so I just might not see the struggles that they're currently experiencing. So lots of lessons learned from that experience of my field season just not going well. For students who are experiencing a similar challenge where just a field season didn't go according to plan at all, like I guess I just want you to know that that happens. It's not your fault. It's just part of it oftentimes, unfortunately, and you'll figure something else out. I've been there where I didn't think I was going to figure it out, and and you do, and to just draw on the resources around you to help you navigate that, whether that's mental health support or just finding people who are in your corner. And just more generally, advice for grad students that are experiencing challenges is just like science is hard. And I think that that's just an important thing to recognize. It's part of science, but that doesn't make it easy. And that's not advice, but I'm just here to tell you that it's hard, and I'm here with you in it. Thanks for watching Fail Safe Science. My name is Robin, and I hope my story helps graduate students feel less alone.